Hi there, welcome back to the Planet Zoo Every Animal Franchise Zoo. Last episode, we made good progress in the zoo. I fixed some of the processing problems we were having by drastically cutting back on the number of animals in the zoo, and we also added the saiga and the sloth bear habitats. Oh, and I found the missing saiga from last week. They're safely back in the habitat again, so yeah, all 3 saigas now back in the habitat. Now, tasks for this episode. Before I get building, I know this was bugging a bunch of you because I get comments about this every episode. Collared peccary. The peccaries are a South American tropical animal and they don't require a new habitat because they can be housed with the capuchin monkeys and the Baird's tapirs. So for completeness and to say yes, at one point or another, every single animal in Planet Zoo has been placed in the Every Animal Franchise Zoo. I've reopened the capuchin and tapir habitat and we've now got collared peccaries in here too. So here you go, collared peccary. I hope they can breathe there. Magic peccary can breathe underwater. Leave them to it. Anyway, this is essentially proof. Yes, there is peccaries in the zoo. I did ignore them until now. But they are here now. You can see it with your own eyes, living harmoniously with the capuchin and the Baird's tapir there. So let's move on from that and build something new. There's 2 animals to build for today to finish off the Eurasia animal pack, starting with the Takin. The Takin is one of the stranger animals in Planet Zoo. The game Zoopedia says it's an antelope, but I'm pretty certain this isn't an antelope. It's far too stocky, and I'd say it's more like a cattle species than an antelope. So I don't know if they've got their facts wrong with that one, or it's me that's getting the wrong idea with it. Either way, the Takin's preferred environment, it's very different to both the other cattle and antelopes we've seen in the game. They're native to the eastern Himalayas, and they can tolerate taiga and temperate biomes. Trying to gauge what type of habitat to create for them, going by the terrain preferences, they like a lot of rock, so that to me indicates they prefer steep and rugged terrain, and of course Himalayas indicates mountains and forests. So we'll look a picture in my head for this is the typical terrain I'd develop for something like a bear or a forest cat, which definitely feels very strange creating that kind of environment for a creature like this. That said, the Takin does have some really unique characteristics. It even looks like a mixture of several different animals, so it's quite fitting, I think, to create a unique habitat for them too. My idea with this habitat design is based on Takin folklore. Takin is a national animal of Bhutan, which is a landlocked country in South Asia, situated in the eastern Himalayas between China in the north and India in the south. It's a heavily Buddhist region, and the Takin holds a lot of cultural significance there. Bhutan folklore links the creation of the Takin with a 15th century Tibetan Buddhist monk. So that led me to the idea of creating a Takin temple. I've created a few temples previously in Planet Zoo, and I will say it's not an easy style to create. We do have East Asia themed pieces in the game, but those are more suited to China. So veering south, the style is similar, but not quite the same. So this build, I did have quite a lot of deliberation over what scenery pieces to use and a lot of fiddly work to make them fit in. Instead of going with something I'd already created, I decided for this habitat to start again from scratch, particularly as other temples I've made are from other regions too, so I felt it would be better to start with a blank slate. For reference on this, I did a Google search on Tibetan temples and got an idea of the general architecture. Tibetan temples, they're typically constructed with natural materials such as stone, brick and wood. Modern temples, they do use concrete, but I've tried to keep that minimal, only using the plaster and the concrete pieces for decorative stuff, since we don't have many options for decorative trims and things in the wood and stone. In terms of placement, in real life the most desirable location for Tibetan temples is on elevated land, so I've raised this one from the ground level and built up the land around it with rocks. About the only thing I have deviated on from what a traditional temple would look like is the windows. The real temples, they have very small windows, albeit very decorated windows, but they are quite small. I kept with the small window feeling at the front of the building, but I did open up the sides and the back, adding big glass windows for guests to view the Takins from. If I was being stricter, these walls should have also been closed up with small windows like I've done at the front, but I know already guests are going to have a problem with that, so whilst I've followed traditional design where I could, I still do have to consider the game's preferences or contend with visitors' displeasure of not being able to see anything. That's pretty much everything with this build, so let's take a look. So the approach to the Takin habitat, I'd noticed this bit behind the sloth bear habitat was really empty, and I don't want empty space in this zoo, so filled it with plants and got more power back here. Noticed there was no electricity and another keeper hut because there's a lot of animals in this zone now and only one keeper hut. We needed more. Then it's on to the rather grand, if I do say, looking Takin habitat. I will point out this is much bigger than the Takin needs. Since we are getting close to finishing off every animal zoo, fingers crossed soon, and we still got so much room left in the zoo, I don't feel the need to be space precious anymore. So given plenty of space here for the lead up into the temple with that harsh elevation, I wanted to stretch it out a little bit. This is the Tibetan inspired Takin temple, and Takin's there already checking it out. And yeah, strange looking animal, isn't it? Oh, going for a leap. Lost them. Stay still, we want to look at you. Right, so Takin, it looks like about 4 animals put into one. No! Come back. Just want to show them how weird you look. There, right. Strange bovine animal. Oh, and already got guests going up into the temple. Their feet do sink into the ground there, unfortunately. That's not my fault. That's how the games built that piece, so we have to live with that, unfortunately. Oh yes, and inside here, the temple is also a hard shelter for the Takin. And this fellow, why is he so excited about nothing? There's no Takins in here. Deary me, some very strange behaviour for this showcase. I think we'll move on. Next build is for the wolverine. Wolverine's a really nice animal to build for. They're a small animal and they don't need a lot of space. They enjoy a decent sized nature allowance and there's plenty of variation in the plant styles. Oh, and best of all, they are indifferent to humans, so we don't need to cover the habitat in one-way glass to avoid stress. If we ever get a Planet Zoo sequel, I think something I'd like them to look into, or at least consider, would be the stress response. It annoys me no end that the only way to effectively prevent stress is to barricade the habitat with solid walls and one-way glass barriers that have to be at least 2 meters tall to fully cover the height of visitors. I think the stress in the game is way overboard. For animals like the foxes in the game, they only need short fences. But when you use a short fence, they get so stressed every time, even with a small amount of visitors, because they're classed as a shy animal. We shouldn't have to make these habitats really ugly just to prevent a mechanic in the game that they decided was going to be a thing. For animals that genuinely get stressed when they can see guests, then of course, there are some animals out there, and some zoos I've been to in real life, they do have protective measures for certain animals, but it's not all of them. For example, I was at London Zoo last month and it was a special event where you went to the zoo in the evening, so some of the animals were already sleeping, and one that I noticed, they'd barricaded the flying fox, so the bats, the flying foxes, they were barricaded off because this is really interesting. I did explain it in another video. For nocturnal animals in zoos like bats, they reverse their sleeping cycle, so at night they put the lights on so the bats think it's daytime, and then in the daytime they're in darkened enclosures so the bats think it's nighttime. And of course that works really well so that when visitors are around, the bats are flying around and are active. But because I was visiting the zoo in the evening, then they barricaded that area off to protect the bats from being disturbed when they're trying to sleep. But for a majority of the animals that are shy in Planet Zoo, it's not genuinely the case in real life. Plenty of real zoos have got plenty of these animals in and they're not protected in the same way. And I'm pretty sure, these are all reputable zoos. They know what they're doing. So yeah, I won't go on about it anymore, but that's my number one pet peeve in Planet Zoo is the shyness. That and the guests getting upset when they see a staff facility. It's just so unrealistic. But this isn't the video for a rant. Let's just get back to talking about the wolverine. A great species to build for. You can have loads of variety, so many plants you can use. Also added a feature in this habitat that I personally haven't built before, but I know loads of other people have. An animal walkway that goes over the guest path, and it's a lot simpler to make them than I thought it would be. Why don't we just jump in and take a look? So, last animal in the Eurasia pack. We're done with that now. This is the wolverine. Really enjoyed creating this habitat. Wolverines are a very easy species to build for. And of course, it just starts to rain as we are looking at the animals. So, get ready for a frame rate drop. Always the way. We'll soldier on. New feature in this habitat that I've not created before, I've gone with one of those animal runways. This is a way for the wolverines to pass through the habitat over the guest pathway. It does work, I have seen them using it. Of course, there's no animals running through it now. The animals never do the interesting stuff when I'm recording. It's like they know or something. Always trying to get away from me. Or pooping. They're always pooping for the camera. Anyway, another feature in this habitat, I brought the guest path right up into the habitat. This does a little semicircle at the end, and in here I've got some seating, we've got some rocks, and we've got the animal sign. In terms of plants, wolverines live in the colder biomes, so lots of tiger plants in here. And, oh yes, hard shelter. For this habitat, I've used the hard shelter I created for the wolverines for my starter habitats on PC. I really liked that building and thought it fit in well, the colour schemes and the layout. It really fits the wolverines well, so just gone with that one again. Saved me building one for this. I'd say this was definitely a good build to end off the Eurasia pack with. Really enjoyed building this one. No challenges, no headaches, no complicated building sequences or anything like that. Hope you like what I came up with. Next episode, we're moving on to the barnyard pack animals, and can't wait to get stuck into that. I've been eagerly awaiting the conclusion of the Eurasia species to move on to them. Until then, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.